How can you train your dog to get into the car? He's super anxious and barks in the car. So this is something that we get occasionally. We'll talk to our students a little bit about if they have a dog who barks incessantly in the crate and just gets really wound up in the crate. Break it down a little bit. Get your dog in. Number one, get them in a position where, and I'm not sure whether you're going into a crate in the car, but if your dog, make sure your dog's restrained somehow. If your dog's already stressed, the last thing you want is the dog moving around the cabin of the vehicle. But just open the doors, allow the dog to go in, and then feed them, reward them when it's not moving. Then maybe the next step for you might be go and start the car or turn the radio on, change something, make it a little bit more immersive, and then reward the dog for being good. Address the whatever the negative behavior is. Maybe you just replace them back into their position. And
we've had a lot of success with having people, because there's lots of dogs that have anxiety with the car. That's actually really not that uncommon.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of success with some of our students feeding them their meals in the car without the car on, like Ken suggested, taking them out. And for some dogs that are actually really worried, even just letting them eat the food near the car outside, like don't even go in the car to begin with. And then if you can get them to the point where they're in the car and then out of the car, but all while the car's not on, typically it makes it a little bit easier. If your dog starts to become more confident with the car, typically the barking will subside. Usually, sometimes barking is because the dogs are excited or maybe because they're a little bit worried or unsure. And so if you change their thought process of how they feel when they're in the car, often the barking will subside. So it's best to also, if you have a dog, this is also for dogs that are car sick as well, to eventually go for short car rides more often rather than longer car rides, which can be a little bit scarier for them.
Yeah, and treat it like a training moment. It's hard when, and this is something we'll talk about in just a couple of minutes, it's difficult when you're always struggling because you're in the moment and you don't have an opportunity to train your dog, whether that means, whatever, barking around other dogs or whatever the situation is. Somebody rings the doorbell. It's hard because number one, it's unpredictable. It happens, and then you have to reactively deal with it. But the real challenge there is that you can't control some of these things. So what you do need to do is set the situation up as a training situation. So for the doorbell, I'm going to maybe get my neighbor or one of us will go outside and ring the doorbell. For the instance where you're dealing with in the car, set it up, because if you need to take your dog to somewhere, wherever you're going, it's tough because number one, you need to get to that place and your attention is not on your dog, and it certainly isn't on your dog training, and it's not good information for your dog. So break it down a little bit, spend some of your training time focusing on those challenges. Now, you've just watched some content from our main channel, McCann Dog Training, and if you'd like some more training information on this topic, click that card right there. If this is your first time on our Clips channel and you really enjoy the short form content, make sure you subscribe. Hit that button right there. On that note, I'm Ken. Happy training.